let's start it here. Okay, for those of you guys who have never seen one of these before, the purpose of doing a first impressions is that you get to see what I think about things as I'm reading them, rather than me telling you what I think at the end. And because it's my first read through, I'm going to make mistakes and misunderstand some things. So just a disclaimer about that. Try not to flame me too hard if I mess up. I might drink this gross looking green juice. I think if this up back. Yeah, if you guys could do me a favor and not write spoilers for stuff ahead of time, because I do kind of want to read chat occasionally, since it's not like, I assume it's not the biggest patch ever, considering we're close to a major. So yeah, just hop right along with me. You guys all good? I'm assuming audio's okay. All right. Before we start, I've been spoiled for two things. I saw somebody write DPS Lena, or they said like Lone Druid Bear Lena for one of the options. And I believe I also read Nahaz's tweet like 40 minutes after the patch had come out. And there, in his tweet, it said that Shadow Shaman got a range increase. And I was really confused because Shadow Shaman, I couldn't remember a time when Shadow Shaman got a range increase. That was before I knew the patch came out. So let's cover it. It's called the Blade Form Legacy. This is the Juggernaut Arcana that people have been waiting for. This is the one we voted on around TI6, unfortunately, where IO did not win and Jug did. Nero's mask has been cleaved into, awakening the ancient souls that once lay dormant inside of it. Okay. Spirits have become one with your Nero, giving him both the wisdom and fury of his ancestors. Symbiotic relationship has transformed the Juggernaut into something new and terrifying, a celestial force of nature. So this is what it looks like. Looks pretty cool. Maybe not amazing, but cool. Do something, Juggernaut. Okay, he animates the ground. Okay. And it looks like he casts Overpower after he Omni Slashes, which is kind of cool. So I guess if you murder people, this is, okay, pretty cool. There's a dragon inside of him. Where's my crit animation? That is gonna be some visual clutter right there, let me tell you. Poop. Oh, he's teleporting. That's cool. And it just, alright, cool. I think I've seen enough. Ghost Snake. Alright, loadout, custom icon. Custom kill effect for a lethal crit or Omni Slash, or on triple kills or higher. Blah, blah, blah. Dragon Spirit Ancestor. Buy now. I'll probably buy it, honestly. I like Juggernaut a lot. New Captain's Mode UI. Okay, cool. So now it looks like the regular screen. Oh, this is cool. Swap Captain's role picks and enjoy the added benefits of strategy time. So now you can actually buy your items in Captain's Mode in strategy time instead of having to do it in-game, which is a nice change. I was very confused when I played some matches the other day and that wasn't the case. And I assume this is the case for all pro games now. I assume that what it looks like spectating a team drafting looks the same, but I think this is a nice change. It's actually using enough of the screen, or more of the screen at least, and you can still, the chat window is much better here. So I like this. Jakiro model update. It looks better. This one looks more icy. It's not just like blue. It's not just like a blue head, and this one looks like it actually is magma and like fire and stuff instead of before where it was just, oh wait, that's right, I have a thing in the way. I like it. I think they look good. We'll see what it looks like in game, but so far looks good. All right, Monkey King Captain's Mode. I think it's fine. Experience required to go from level 1 to level 6 increased by 15%. Interesting. So just a little bit for every level. Oh, it's not just a difference of 20 in the end. It's a little bit every single round, pretty much. So the biggest change is it's 40 at level 1, 60 at level 2, 80 level 3, 100 level 4, and 20 level 5. Okay, so basically it looks like, so going from 1 to 6 is longer, going from 9 to 13 is less, although going from 9 to... Basically, the level 13 doesn't take forever like it did before, because it took forever to go from level 12 to level 13. Whereas that's not going to be the case now. Or is that 12 to 11 to 12? That's level 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Level 12 to level 13 took a lot. Now it's more evened out. So that means that people will accelerate to 12 a little bit slower. It'll be more flat and even, but it's the same experience. This one's kind of significant. 15 experience difference pre-level 6 might really hurt players that roam. So maybe roaming is a little bit worse here. Unsuccessful roaming is definitely worse, I would say. AoE hero kill gold and experience bounty is reduced by 10, including combat gold and experience. Okay, so this one's kind of interesting because I was kind of wondering if there would be a balance fix in this way, because I don't know if anybody really felt the effects or understood how important this is, but this could change the game in a lot of ways. Because AoE hero kill gold is when you're there and ganking somebody, and somebody dies and you get experience and gold for it. So this means this is basically a nerf to ganking and team fighting and killing heroes. Tier 1 team bounty reduced. I assume that means tier 1 tower. So a little bit less bounty gold from killing towers. Passive gold income reduced as well. So basically this is just like a big nerf to gold gaining in game so far. Reduced lane melee creeps base gold bounties by 2. Increased lane melee creeps gold bounty per upgrade cycle by 1. So in late game they give more, but at the start of the game they give a little bit less. This is like what, 2 out of 40 or something on average. Reduced lane creeps gold bounty per upgrade cycle by 1. So just very small gold reduction. This one is pretty big, I think, for a lot of players. For bad players, this is huge, and I think this one's kind of significant, but it's not that bad. It's like what, 120 gold if you take 3 tier 1s. Shrines base HP regen reduced, so a little nerf to shrines and bases. All towers base armor reduced by 4. Wow. Okay. So all towers base armor is reduced by 4, but now they gain 2 armor per nearby enemy player within 1200 AoE per enemy player. So that means that if you solo push a tower, it has less armor than if you push it with 5 heroes. If you push it with 5 heroes, they have more armor. So what this probably means is a way to make 5-man Dragonlance strats less effective, because the issue right now is that towers are kind of just killed with like Dragonlance and a ranged hero and a Solar Crest on the ranged hero, because it's easy to do. It's the safest way to do it. You don't have to like win a team fight, and once you kill the tower, it's a lot easier to win a team fight, less detection, stuff like that. So I feel like this is just a nerf to that 5-man style. Assuming tier 1 towers have more HP, but that makes sense because the armor is reduced by 4, so that's not too surprising. So basically this means that any push of 2 heroes is basically equivalent to what it was before, with the exception of a little bit more HP. This also means that your deny is at 140 now instead of 130. Keep that in mind. And if it's 2 armor per hero, that's what, up to 10 armor instead of the old 2. I wonder if against meepos it counts for more. That should probably be fixed if so. We'll see how that works out. Interesting though. Scan cooldown reduced by a lot, down to 210, which I think is okay. Ranked all pick hero selection time reduced from 35 to 30. Okay. Alright, Battle Fury damage. Cleave buff. Battle Fury was technically nerfed in the last patch. Blightstone no longer available in side shop. I think this is completely reasonable, because it's a pretty strong item. Buying it in lane is maybe too good. I think Orb of Venom should stay there, but Blightstone not being there I think is reasonable. Bloodthorn cooldown increased slightly. I'm slightly surprised by this. I feel like Bloodthorn's... It's bought a lot in the pro scene, more commonly than Daedalus, although I think Daedalus has been bought a little bit more. Speaking of Daedalus, it's not going to be changed. Like, this doesn't change anything, really. Very small increase, 5% damage increase. So if you have, like, 300 damage, that's like 15 for your crit. It's okay. Recipe cost reduced. I think this needed to happen. Drone was pretty bad. I think it was difficult to buy it. It's kind of... I'm warming up to the item, but it's... It gives pretty shit stats. It's plus 6 strength, plus 6 int, 3 agi, 20 movement speed aura, and when you activate it, gives you 25% attack speed and like 13% movement or something like that. It's a good teamfight item, but then your charges run out, and then it's just a 20 movement speed item with gives you 50% mana regen too. I think the recipe cost was way overblown. And this would get the drum closer to a place where it'd be more justified to buy it repeatedly. 700 gold, there's no way, but 575 maybe. Maybe if it was down towards like 300, 400 or something, maybe that would be really stupid too. It's kind of hard to say. Dragonlance nerfed again. I think this pretty much was going to happen no matter what. It's bought on almost every single hero. Keep in mind, Dragonlance was 15 strength, 15 agility when it first came out. Now it's down to, I think, like 13 strength. Maybe it's like 12, 12, 12 agility, 12 strength. So this is quite a bit less. It's basically been nerfed by 20% for what agility it gave. Echo Saber no longer slows attack speed. Okay, I'm actually super into that. I think this is a really nice change. At first I thought it said remove the slow, but that would be stupid because then it wouldn't really accomplish what it's supposed to do. But what this means is attack speed. I think it would do 100% slow, I believe, before for 0.6 seconds, which is basically like, it's enough. But also slowing the attack speed means that it would counter against carries that you use it against, which was in some ways didn't need to happen. The item basically needed to be nerfed because it was purchased so often, but it shouldn't be nerfed in a way that like they can start removing the extra shit that that's not really built for. So things like it slowing attack speed for just a brief second would be a nice change. So pretty minor nerf, but definitely could matter if you're fighting a carry, certainly, and you're worried about losing the fight. Ooh, big nerf to Helm. This is actually a pretty giant nerf. Started at +6 to all stats, now it's +2 to all stats, which is quite weak. Before it used to give you 120 HP, now it only gives you 40. And the recipe cost goes up by a little bit. This is very significant. And the item got no better, just completely worse unless there's like a change to neutrals. Oh, damn. Helm got wrecked, dude. And they increased the cost of recipe for headdress. So headdress now costs 725 gold or something like that. This basically means Helm went up by a total of 175 gold, which is pretty significant. So this should put this around like 2k now. I think Helm of the Dominator now costs 2,000 gold. There's definitely a lot of heroes that I would not build this on now. I've always been leaning towards like disliking Helm. I think it's a little overpurchased. Not saying I don't think it's good, but I think it's a little overpurchased. And maybe this will convince more players to agree with me, but we'll see. Magic resistance reduced. This kind of needed to happen. I think Hood was way too value. The expense of it is so little. It's like 1,500 gold, and you'd get 30% magic resistance, and then you use a bear for 325. There's so many like interiors you'd play, and then all of a sudden somebody buys a Hood. It's so inexpensive to get. Made like magic nukers a little bit weak sometimes. I assume pipe will still go to 30. If that's the case, I'm fine with that because most players will super delay buying the actual pipe over the Hood. Small nerf here. I think this is fine. It's one of the nice things about upgrading it is that the cooldown would go down from 20, so now it's only 15. And considering that they also nerfed the Dragonlance, I guess the Hurricane Pike probably still does the same agi, I guess, which should be 20, I believe. But we'll see. I think it does 20. Mask Menace. This item needed a buff. I tried it on a few heroes. I tried it on like Sven, and I was thinking about it on other heroes, but it's kind of weak right now. It's 8-second active out of 20. And while it's active, it gives you 100 attack speed, gave you 100 attack speed and 17% movement, I think. And the lifesteal is only 15. It used to be 20. So I feel like, and the main issue is that it silences you when you use it and lowers your armor by 5. The armor isn't a big deal at all, but the silence is kind of iffy because there's a lot of heroes that need to be able to cast a spell. Like you can't Mask of Madness Omni Slash, for example. You can't use Mask of Madness and then change your mind and channel or assassinate. You just have to commit to using Mask of Madness. So I think I don't know if I tried it on a sniper or not, but I definitely tried it on Sven. It kind of works on Sven because usually you like blink, stun, war cry, ulti, and then Mask of Madness. It's okay, but in the long term, between the 8 and 20 seconds, it really hurts you. But ideally, it would be an item that's really useful during the 8 seconds that you use it, and kind of unimportant after that. But maybe there's some situations where it could be useful. Who knows? Maybe even a hero like Legion, it could work or something. No, you can't do that because you can't duel after you cast it. It's so hard. It's so difficult. You can't hear anything. I'm just going to check. I literally just got a haircut, actually. I think my hair is fine. Moonshard can now be cast on ally heroes. Ooh. So, with the exception of Alk Ags, this is maybe the first time that we've seen an item that you can basically buff your allies with. I would say this is a slight buff to Alchemist, but not much, because usually you don't get full Ags for your team anyways. But it could diversify the strat a little bit. I don't feel like there's a lot of other heroes that would probably still buy it, because it's 4,000 gold for 60 attack speed, which I don't think is very justified in almost any case. Even upgrading your Moonshot on your own hero really hurts you heavily. It's like throwing 2,000 net worth away. but obviously you get the benefit of not having it in a slot. We'll see what this does, but to be honest, I think there's going to be very, very, very rare circumstances where this is done. Maybe somebody would play a support that can farm really fast or something, but even then, there's some circumstances I feel like where support's like I have too many items, or like they feel like their impact would be better giving it to an ally. But I'm sure we'll see it in pubs far more than pro scene. In pro scene, I feel like pro players are good enough to use that gold, whereas I would say at like 2k or something, it might be better just to give it to your carry in some cases. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't think it'll be used very often in pro scene. Necronomicon cooldown reduces items kind of crap right now. I think it's all right, but it's kind of crap. Okay. And Rod of Atos cast range increased. I actually felt like this item would be really strong in the last patch, and it is, but it's still pretty expensive. The static gives are good, but the cooldown's really high right now. I still think it's worth buying occasionally on some supports, but like I played a Disruptor game 2 days ago. It was just an unranked game with all the people at the Moonduck Hub, and it was against heroes that dove me really well, and I realized it was a mistake to buy it. The stats are great, but the item is a little iffy still. It's a very rare purchase, kind of like before, but the root is definitely good, and it's nice to have it as an option against like Storm, but I think the fat is definitely worn out. I saw rods all the time right after the patch hit, and it became a root, but I don't see it anymore. I don't think I've seen anybody build it in a long time. Silver Edge, backstab damage reduced. I was just doing a replay coaching today, actually, and I was surprised to see that it was only 25 damage more. It was actually almost in no way better. The only benefits to Silver Edge at this point are that it applies break. The cooldown is like 23 seconds instead of 28, or it's like 24, so it's like almost no cooldown benefit. It gives you plus $15 stats, which is nice, and when you hit somebody, you break them, and they do 50% damage output. So basically, upgrading to Silver Edge is only good if you really need generic stats, mostly the HP in most cases, and if after the generic stats, you need to break somebody's passive. The damage reduction, I think, is just kind of finicky, and it kind of is counterintuitive with how the item works, in that you're invisible, you reveal that you're no longer invisible, and then you're trying to get them to stop their damage output. But in most cases, like, you break invis and you hit them, and then you just fucking kill them, and they don't turn around and fight you. Most people won't fight somebody that breaks out of invis and initiates, because in a lot of cases they'll run. So I think the damage reduction part is kind of worthless in a lot of cases. Sometimes worth it, but kind of worthless. The break aspect is good, but it's not worth the 2,500 gold. And I'm okay seeing the item nerfed, just because there are some heroes that it's really, really good on. But this is like the tiniest little baby nerf. I don't think it's a big deal. And I still think the item's supremely overpurchased in pubs. Almost every player that buys Shadowblade in like sub 5k will upgrade to a Silver Edge right away, and that's really bad. TP scroll cooldown increased by 10. This is significant for two small reasons. One is that if you keep your TP in your backpack, it recharges really slow, which means it makes it even worse. It also means that movement speed is arguably a little bit better, but considering how many shrines and TP points exist in the game, I think this is okay. An okay thing to do to nerf teleport scroll, because it's very easy to move around the map right now. Ultimate Orb increased by 50 gold. We'll see if that matters later when we get into other items, but for at the least, Silver Edge is more expensive, Scotty's more expensive, Sheepstick, Manta Style, basically all really popular items right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see nerfs to all those items, that maybe even deeper than just these. All right, Abaddon's been played a lot in the pro scene in the last couple of days, depending on the region. Aphotic Shield, mana cost is nerfed a little bit. Basically, there's no negative to getting more points of it now, in terms of mana, that is, but it's not like it was much. So this is fairly inconsequential. It's really big at level 1, though. Like level 1, level 3. This is pretty significant, I would say. So it's a nerf to Laney and Abaddon. Level 25 talent changed. This one was way too good, because your Aphotic Shield was like 200, so this would make it a 400 swing, which is way too good, and then it would do a big explosion as well. Not that many Abaddons got there, but I guess if they did, it was probably really hard to play against, considering it's like a 6-second cooldown, and he's got a minus cooldown perk. I think it's 15%, so it'd put your shield would be like 4.6 seconds. So it'd basically be like a 400 damage block that could reflect and remove stuns every 4.6, which sounds like actually disgustingly good. Change to 300 health. Wait, no, it's made better. Okay, it's been buffed. That's really good now. 500 damage, 500 shield. That's huge. I don't remember what his other talent is, but I feel like it's pretty good. We should do this really quick. Let me open it up. I don't know if this is going into dota2.com/heroes is the best place to go, but what were we talking about? Abaddon? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there aren't talent trees on this website. No problem, guys. I'll just go to Dota Buff. Believe it or not, they do update the things. All right, 25 strength. So 25 strength, which is 500 HP, 25 damage, or 300 aphotic shield. I feel like the 300 aphotic shield is better. 25 strength is not bad though, just because it gives you a lot of HP that you could heal with borrowed time, but I don't know, we'll see. Late game buffs. I feel like A is okay right now. I know a lot of pro players, or I feel like a lot of people talk shit about this hero, but I think a lot of players play him too squishy. They just go like Arcanes, or they go like Midas Rush or something, and I feel like he's better than that. I think you can actually fight early with this hero. So this is late game stuff. 80 chilling touch damage to 100, and 3 charges of cold feet to 4. Both of these are still pretty good, I think. I think when I've played this hero in the past, I think I usually get cold feet, but I don't usually hit 25. I hit 20 fairly regularly, but 100 chilling touch damage is pretty huge. That puts you up to 180 a hit instead of just 160. It does reduce your attack speed by 20, but if we do 180 times 5, it's basically like it's like 900 magic damage or something like that, which is pretty freaking amazing actually if you think about it. If you hit somebody 6 times, it's 900 magic damage. It's incredible. It's quite good. I think both of these are fantastic. Problem is that A's are very, very, very rarely going to hit 25. Arc Warden, keep in mind he's in Cadpins mode. Magnetic Field mana cost rescaled, so it's better at level 1. I think this is fine because the hero is a little bit nerfed right now. Tempest double duration increased. This is fine too. 12 seconds is like actually nothing. And level 25 talent buffed the Spark Wraith. Don't know what his other skill was. 30% lifesteal and 250 now. Okay. 30% lifesteal is a lot. And late game when you have 6 items, you'd probably want the lifesteal because you're missing a slot otherwise. But this could be cool. I haven't played Arc Warden honestly in a really long time, but it'd be fun to try him out as a support or something. Because I feel like that's where the buff is going to be headed. Bane buffed, hell yeah. 4 damage is actually a lot. I've been playing Bane on and off. He's been picked a little in the pro scene as well. So that puts his base damage at 59 to 65, which is really high. That's actually insane how high this is. It's an average of 63, I believe, on average. 62 maybe. 59, 60, 61, 60, 64, 63, 61, 63. So it's 62 on average, I think. So on average 62, that means if you buy Null Talisman, your damage is on average 71. Which honestly means what the heck? My headset turned off because there was no audio coming. If you buy Null Talisman, you hit for 71 damage. That's pretty cool. The problem is that it would be cool to do Bane mid, but it's not going to happen because Bane doesn't have any AoE. Although there might be some cases where a Bane will go mid and just use Enfeeble level 1. Because if you're hitting for 71 damage and you're reducing their damage by 30, that means you have like a 45 damage advantage or something. You should be able to get every last hit deny. We could see this. But either way, at some point it's going to suck because you can't push waves. And when you can't push waves, basically means that if they're a hero that's good at pushing waves with nukes, then it doesn't matter if you have a base damage advantage. It'll just double nuke the wave, or like for Shadow Fiend, or any hero that can nuke the wave will just nuke the wave, and then you're just going to sit there auto-attacking creeps under tower because you can't counter push. So Bane mid probably won't work, but we'll probably see it in pubs and messed around with. But if you do this, guys, don't get more than like 1 point in Enfeeble. It's not worth it. Maybe 2 max. I wouldn't get any more than 2. It can certainly work in the early game. Maybe against some drafts it'd be cool to have multiple points, but Brain Sap's like too god tier for a skill to pass it up. And you could probably get away with just 1 Nightmare. But maybe there's some kind of cool thing. This should make Bane like more competitive as a zoning support or a roaming support. He might be able to like actually deal with heroes like Ogre better now. Because at some point, if his damage is if it's just too high, then simply put, he's going to trade very well. And he already does trade really well because of things like Brain Sap. But his gank is worse than a lot of those heroes. So I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of incredible. 100 movement speed is actually insane. And I think they honestly had to do that because the Brain Sap damage heal was too good. It's kind of like Aphotic Shield. If you're healing for the same damage you deal, and this is pure damage, by the way, so this becomes a 500 pure damage nuke. on an 11-second cooldown, and that heals you for 500 every time you use it. Like, it's hard to get 100 movement speed instead of that, but 100 movement speed is incredible. I feel like if I don't know, if I was playing like Core Bane and I had a lot of items, movement speed is usually best for cores, but if I'm a support, I think I'd probably skip it. Like, look at this difference here. Oh, it's actually very comparable. I'm surprised that this is so good, but 100 movement speed is actually incredible, though. Basically means if you have BOTs and you have this perk, you're running at about 500, I think. What's your base movement? 310? So that would put you at 410 for BOTs. Throw on another 100. That's 510 movement speed. That's actually incredible how fast that is. This one makes perfect sense to me. These are pretty equivalent. Might really start justifying this experience gain perk, though, because getting to both of these are amazing. And I think this is something that I'd like to see a lot of heroes do, is make their 25 perks actually like god tier, because I was just thinking about the experience gain perk the other day, and it's just so shitty sometimes at 15. Because like as a support especially, level 15 is like, you're pretty much at the end of the game. You're happy to get a level 20 perk. You don't get a level 25 perk ever, unless you're like really bad at closing the game out or something. But now I'm thinking like, hey, I could get 25% experience gain. Maybe if I get a lot of good mid and late game ganks off, I could get hit an early 25. And then all of a sudden I'm 100 movement speed faster than normal. Like that's cool. It's very cool. In a lot of ways, movement speed is kind of similar to cast range in that it lets you get to where you want to react faster. So hypothetically, you could justify one of these maybe over the other. Hard to say. But it's so hard to not get the brain sap. It's honestly not surprising at all. Oh, it actually has a win advantage. I didn't even realize that. But the brain sap damage is fantastic. Okay, Bat Rider, level 25 talent increased from plus 200 flameback AoE to 300. I do not know what Bat Rider's other level 25 talent is. It used to be 200 AoE and knockback. Now it's, and it was plus 8-second Firefly, which doesn't make it permanent, but it puts it up there. 26 seconds out of 40. So just makes the AoE even bigger. I don't know what the regular AoE is. 375. This basically hits like the whole screen. I'm quite sure. Which means, I believe, that it pushes people farther if you level it up. Could be used like a force staff, basically. Which would be cool. Beastmaster talent buffed. Don't know which one that is. Only 50. This is basically how I struggle buff heroes that are still played. Yeah, 400 health versus 12% cooldown reduction. Almost everybody gets the cooldown, I bet. Bloodseeker level 10 talent, small buff to that. I think his other one is like damage or attack speed. I think. Don't think I need to check. This one was kind of needed. I think 10% was too small. I've gotten it before, but 10% feels so bad. Yeah, 25 damage. Very common for Bloodseekers to pick that up. Brewmaster. This is the 15 talent. Yeah, 75 Thunderclap damage. It just got changed. It used to be... I don't remember what it used to do, but 12% magic resistance is good because everybody would probably grab the damage because you, especially if you get an Ags, you get a double one. I like that change. I think it's a nice adjustment. Bristleback, buff to his strength perk at 10. The other one is mana regen, so this is okay. Both are situationally good. Even more attack speed at the 20, and basically this is just a late game buff to Bristle is what this looks like. This is kind of inconsequential. This is okay for a core. It's not terrible, but this much attack speed is so good, it's hard to pass that up if you're playing core. If I was like losing, maybe I'd go this. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of respawn talents late game unless you're a support. Obviously for cores it can matter too though. 30 more seconds to farm when you die. That's fine. This is cool. It's actually becoming like an insane value. I can't wait till a lot of heroes get to this kind of period of time. I was playing ability draft a lot in the last week. Played like 6 games or something. There's a lot of heroes that just have really, really boring skills that I don't care about either way. And 70 attack speed, that one's pretty cool. Plus 12 spiderlings attack damage is good, but it basically allows you to diversify. You don't have to go and make your spiders better. You can actually make your hero better. I like that. Health perk for 15 over cooldown reduction. Definitely needed to happen. Cooldown reduction is really good on Brood. Oh, and it buffed to 12 instead of 8. I haven't played Brood since this, so it's hard to know whether this is going to do anything OP or not. Centaur needed a nerf because he's been picked almost exclusively in the pro scene. I think this one is really important. The Scepter, I think this was 70 when it started, maybe 80, don't remember, but 50% is definitely more balanced because it's basically whoever, if as soon as the team fight starts, you don't take damage for 4 seconds or 3 seconds. This is also fine. It's going to hurt him a lot in terms of jungling, but laning as well will be easier to kill him. This talent was almost never grabbed. The other one is if you're using increase your frostbite duration from 3 to 4.5. It's a pretty big increase. So that's also increasing the damage by 150. Whereas this is your AoE nuke, Nova damage to 300 now. And that's a 9-second cooldown, I believe. I still don't know if I would get that, but you probably should, honestly, if you happen to get to 25. The reason being, obviously, Frostbite will do more damage. And if you get an Axe, it's better to have your Frostbite maxed out. But the power of a 9-second cooldown on a 550 AoE nuke that also slows is pretty darn good, I must say. Because that would, it won't one-shot a wave, but it'll get it awful close, especially if you have some spell amp. It would get you awful close. So that looks kind of fun. Although I have not been 25 on CM very often. Darkseer Vacuum cooldown increased. Small nerf to the hero. This is pretty inconsequential. Obviously, it's a lot. I mean, this ability probably used to be like 20 seconds. Something like that. Now it's just actually, it's like an ultimate. Death Prophet needed a buff big time. She was picked once at during the major that I saw, and she completely failed. I think she farmed a little inadequate, though. So maybe it was just that. 4% spell amp was grossly bad. 5% is better. This would needed to change. 8% magic resistance is like, I guess I'll take that. It's so bad. I just don't care, right? Talking about Death Prophet. So 5% spell amp, 10% magic resistance. That perk is a lot better now. It was just so awful before. 4% spell amp or 8% magic. I wonder. What else got changed? 20 talent. That looks really nice actually. That one's huge. 10% cooldown reduction, or previously 20 movement speed, 25 movement speed. 25 movement speed is pretty good if you have a percentage based movement speed item. It makes it better, but she actually doesn't have that. Yule's gives you 40 flat. And her other skills, she doesn't have that other skill anymore. So basically, I guess if you have a phase boots, this is better now. If you go phase with this build, it's technically better than before. But 50 movement speed is enough where it could be very justified, because DP has too many like survivability issues, and I feel like 50 movement speed would change her hero in a lot of good ways. And 10% cooldown reduction is fantastic on this hero, but it might not be good enough because the issue is still her hero wasn't good enough. But if you have 50 movement speed now, that could certainly work. Because that would put you, if your hero's a little bit faster than normal, say you put a BOTs on her, she's 410, throw another 50 on that, you're up to 460. That's really good. I think I would justify that over cooldown reduction in a lot of cases. And I bet you that will get a better win rate. I'm sure this is not updated yet, but I'm not surprised that most everybody got cooldown reduction. But I feel like 50 movement speed will be better now. All of these other ones are okay. I like the cast range personally, but maybe the other ones are good too. Putting Crypt Swarm at 4. I think it's a nice buff to the hero. Oh, and this one got buffed too. 600 HP now. Versus 8 for the spirits. 600 is a stupid amount of health. That's like half of a heart. That's like a Scotty is like 700 something. 600 health is crazy good. And I think these are really good changes to the hero. The 10 perk is marginally better, which is good because it was pretty shit before. Didn't even feel like a perk. The 15 one has some options that are interesting, but now like the 21 feels good. It feels like good options for both, and the 25 actually feels really good. Do you need more damage? Are you having trouble out carrying somebody? Or is it more important to get 600 health? So that's quite good. Therefore, in late game, if you have a build like this, you don't just have like 2,000 HP, because she has to buy a lot of items that don't actually make her stronger, particularly. I wonder if this is really useful to get an Aether Lens. Because you can increase the cast range with 15. That would basically mean your Spirit Siphon range is a lot farther. Could be really nice to increase that by 300. 300's huge. But it looks like this guy was like stomping. Yeah, because look at these item timings. These are like ridiculous. But yeah, something like Yule's and Phase is pretty standard, but then you have to get tanky kind of. Maybe he just bought Cloak casually, I'm not sure. But anyways, let's move on. Dragonite. Level 10 talent buff. This hero is kind of bad. Both of these perks are good. Level 25 talent increase from 60 movement speed to 75. I actually like this perk a lot. I think it's probably very likely the better perk because Dragonite's actually really slow. I found this out the other day. 290 movement speed. He's really, really slow. If you go treads, which you should, you kind of really need a blink dagger or something like that. I think I went. Did I go drum one game? I don't think I did. Drum's obviously worse than it used to be, but you need something that can gap close for you, whether it's like a Shadow Blade or something else. But this hero's kind of in a weird spot. This 75 movement speed is definitely worth it though, because before when you'd use your ultimate, it increases your movement speed by 25, but that's like the only way you were semi-fast. And obviously you'd be sacrificing 12 armor, 12 regen, but I think it's worth it completely. 75 movement speed's insane. And once this hero gets engaged on, he can't really get out unless he gets a Shadow Blade or a Blink Off. Earthspear is played a lot, so this nerf is fine. Aftershock damage increased. Pretty big buff to Earthshaker early on, I must say. And this is a nice buff too. The other one's mana. This is becoming enough strength where I feel like you can't not get it. Because that's so much, that's 200 HP. And 10 right click, and when you use Enchant Totem, it increases your Enchant Totem by quite a bit. Kind of hard to say, but 10 strength is a lot. 10 strength is a crap load. Could make Core Earthshaker a little better too. Elder Titan, this hero actually kind of needed a buff. He's been picked a little bit, but I think he's still a little bit iffy. Agility gain increase is pretty small, but attack speed, over 10 levels, this is like, what, 3 agility? It's really not much. It's a little bit of armor, things like that. I think actually doesn't help him in the laning stage either. I think it's okay though. It's definitely a really big gap in the hero. Ember Spirit nerfed again. Pretty happy. Pretty crazy to think. Now this is now 10. This used to be 15. So this used to be 50% better. See, to get nerfed twice kind of needed to happen. They buffed the other talent on the other side to make up for it. Armor buff on the other side. Ooh, get wrecked Ember Spirits. Okay, they changed it the other way around is what they did. Get on wrecked Ember Spirits. This is arguably... I kind of feel like this is a buff to the hero. Well, we're gonna have to go look at the hero. I think they said it was armor. So before it was Searing Chains. Oh yeah, that is a nerf to the hero. So I was like, oh, this is just, doesn't he just get everything he wants now? But he doesn't. So at 20, if you really need the armor, you can get the 10 armor now. Or if you're against a lot of magic, you just get Flame Guard Absorption, which will put your Flame Guard at 1,000 magic absorb, which is really good. Keep in mind that's before reduction, so you can't stack that with magic resistance to block tons and tons of hits. Also, still good though. So if they have a lot of, if you're more worried about physical, get the armor. If you're more worried about magic, you get the Flame Guard Absorption, and then it lasts longer during fights too, which is cool. But the issue now is you can't get cooldown reduction and this 2 Searing Chains. So now the lowest that Searing Chains can go is, it'll go down to 6, and it will last for 4. It won't be permanent up anymore. Whereas before it would be like 15% cooldown plus the 25 from Octarine, which would get it very low, but now it's maximum 6. So I think a lot of pros will still get the Searing Chains, I assume, but we'll see. Maybe Ember won't be played as much because the super late game will be definitely worse. And if they don't get the chains and they have low cooldown, then I don't care as much because it only lasts for 6 seconds. So, although it is more, it's 20%. But I assume it's definitely not enough to, it won't be up perma because you'd have to take it from 6 seconds and go down to 2, which is impossible. But going from 6 to 4 before was definitely possible with cooldown. Or not 6 to, yeah, 6 to 2 is not possible. And that 6 is counting the Octarine. So I think this kind of was, I think this is a nice way to nerf him. This is just like, this perk is so much better now. It's overall worse for the hero, but I feel like this perk is more straightforward. It's like, what are you dying to? And this going to 25 I think is reasonable. It lets you, I think it makes the choice a lot easier for physical right click embers. They'd probably always go for the cooldown reduction, whereas magic ones would probably go for the Searing Chains damage. But yeah, Battle Fury Ember is probably back. Maybe not. It's probably still not as good, but certainly better. What was the 10 again? 25 damage? I don't know if we'll see carry Ember, Battle Fury Ember, but Enchantress is now as fast as most heroes' boots. Another buff to the hero. Level 15 talent change from 10 seconds nature's duration to +7 wisps. That's a huge buff. So before what they did was her change would allow her to heal longer with nature's attendance. But the problem is that you don't want to heal longer. Like, most of the time you press that skill when you're about to die. So making it last longer was kind of not needed. It was good for pushing, I guess. It would last for 10 seconds. Now it's doubled when you'd use it. but you don't really need it for pushing usually because it's not enough heal anyways. Because if you're trying to use Nature's Attendance to heal creep waves and allied heroes that are taking AoE damage, it's not going to work. Even if you'd get more, because it was only like, what, 100 HP times, it lasts 11 seconds. So it would do 100 HP per second. It would do 1100 HP. With the previous change, it would do 2200, but now it just gets 7 more wisps. So instead of healing 100 a second, it heals 170 per second. So it heals less overall. Now only healing 1700, I believe. That's more like 1870. 1870, I believe. So it heals a little bit less, but it's in a more bursted period, which I think is good. I think that's kind of what she needed more so than the it's just going to heal me for 20 seconds thing. This is a nice change. 12% is pretty bad. It's that are untouchable, so there's a lot of like 20 talents that help with like late game item issues. But 15 is good. I feel better about that value. And then 60 untouchable slow depending on the game. Could be really nice. I like these changes a lot. Her talents are starting to become really good, I think. And this one is... Oh, that's good. So basically they took the plus Nature's Attendance that used to be there at 25, and they moved it down to the 15 one, which is actually a pretty big buff. Although I would say that this is definitely too late is the problem. It puts your regen up to like 220 HP per second for 10 seconds, and I guess if you technically got the duration up and you got to 25 and you got more wisps, it was good, but this isn't like so good that you'd be like, oh, I can't wait to hit level 25 on Enchantress in this game so that I can just heal like crazy. It's like the game is already finished by then. It's like determined. The game ends. But this, however, makes sieging so much easier. In some ways, this is now the poor man's Chen, or more like the very leveled man's Chen, by that you can control Ancients. So this should help Enchantress close games out, which I think is a nice change. It also makes Enchant better late game, especially at this point because your Enchant's maxed. So that means you can cast it very often. 12-second cooldown, yeah, and it lasts for 80 seconds, I believe, so you can control a lot of Ancients with this. You could basically walk around the map and control like 4 Ancients if you really wanted to, while going high ground, which sounds pretty fun. So, I like this change, it's very nice. The other one was minus 50 respawn time. I think that's I think people would always get the Ancients, but maybe not. Faceless Void, very, very tiny buff. Don't know what his other one is. Faceless Void. It's hard not to say it like that. 15 attack speed. That makes sense. Everybody probably wants the attack speed because of the bash, but I would say that it's better to increase your raw HP if you're worried about getting bursted. So I think this is an okay option. Don't know if there's a lot of cases where I'd want to go strength over attack speed. Maybe if I'm offlane, I guess, but probably worth it. Oh, Gyro buffed again, dude. Gyro Ags, it's here, guys. Swear to God, it's here. The only one that I have trouble making a decision between. I pretty much always get the health. I don't think I've ever gone the spell amp when I played this hero. Not yet, at least. My boy Wings Ice Ice. That's my build, guys. There's my build. And that guy won TI. So now you guys have to believe that this is a good build now. You're forced. Let me look at this match. I want to see exactly what order. I don't know if he got Maelstrom first or not. Okay. He didn't do Point Booster into Maelstrom. He just did Maelstrom super fast. But I think this build is great. This is pretty much the build that I've done historically, and this is the build that I thought was the best. I know everybody was kind of circle jerking how good like Phase Aquila Ags into Satanic was, because they're like, oh, you just can't die. But the problem there is you don't actually farm very fast. And Satanic's really expensive, and even if you have a Satanic, you stay alive, but you could have just killed them maybe. So I actually like, this is my favorite version of the build, where you go Maelstrom and Ags. I think I've done it where I went Maelstrom first and then got Ags, and I've also done it where I got Point Booster first and then got Maelstrom, and I've also done Ags into Maelstrom. But I guess I would say it probably adjusts based on what game it is, like if you're too squishy. And the other interesting thing that I want to see is when did he get his talents? Which talents did he get? He had 55 last hits at 10 minutes. He definitely farmed very fast. He's a top farmer. But that's what's nice about that build, is that you can farm neutrals really fast. Let's go over to the builds tab here. So 10 he got... Does it say? They both look the same. Maybe this is bugged. I don't think it says. I don't know why it shows this. It's like it's bugged. He went for 30 damage, and he got cooldown reduction. What time did he hit level 20? Does it say? Don't think it says. But considering he had a BKB and a Satanic, I think the cooldown reduction is good. But I'm kind of a fan of the movement speed myself. But he probably had to buy BKB. Sorry, I'm spending all this time on this, guys, but he got BKB against an Ember. Guess this makes sense. I guess against Centaur you kind of have to. Okay. In which case it doesn't make sense to buy magic resistance if you're going to get a BKB. And plus 30 damage is fantastic with eggs anyways because it basically doubles and applies to flak. So I think there's times where going health, magic resistance, movement speed is worth it. But I guess the best build is just health, damage, cooldown if you get BKB. Especially once you get Satanic too. So I think this is fine. Probably would go for 4 flat cannon attacks at level 25. That's probably better than homing missile. Well, I feel vindicated. Feels good, man. Okay, Huskar. This is pretty small change. I've gotten this before. It already felt pretty far, but it didn't feel like infinite or anything. The nice part about it is it basically gives you a free Blink Dagger. Because it's already like, I don't know what the cast range is. But it feels like 400 units or something. It's like 400 units, I think. Maybe, somewhere in there. So upping it to like 900 is incredible. Sometimes Blink is more important, but I think this is fine. I think it's a nice little change, just to help him be more relevant late game. Alacrity mana cost buffed up, so Invoker is harder to play now. More mana cost to lane with it and farm with it. IO relocate cooldown is rescaled, so it's nerfed again. Poor IO. Literally the lowest win rate hero in the game, above 5k. And just keeps getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed. Jakiro. This is a pretty good change, although I would say that the level 10 perk is really good right now. I actually can't believe this got buffed. That blows my mind. Oh, there you are, Jakiro. Your icon looks weird, though. That's going to take some getting used to. So right now, when I play Jakiro, I definitely grab Spell Amp, because I'm not the biggest fan of 20% experience, but it's pretty good on this hero because of the fact that when you're at 10, it's nice to accelerate towards level 14, that way you can get your Ice Path maxed, or your Dual Breath, whatever you didn't max yet. But 8% Spell Amp is really good, considering how much damage you do on this hero. The 25 Dual Breath damage at 15, I think is really needed. What's the other option? 125 cast range. That's pretty good. But I'm not too surprised to see them equivalent. I think if you're playing like a hard support and you're feeding, the range is better. But I think the burn damage is really good. Because 25 burn damage increased your Dual Breath. It made it from a 400 damage nuke to a 500 damage nuke. And that goes up by an extra 40. Which means... No, it's an extra 50. No, it's only 4. It's 4 ticks of 80, I believe. Or is it 5? No, it's 5. Yeah, 5 ticks of 80 does 400 damage. Would do 500 damage. Now it does 550. So it goes from a 400 damage nuke to a 550. So comboing that with 8% spell amp is like a huge increase in damage. Because before 8% spell amp with 400 damage is like an extra 32 damage. It's okay. But 8% spell amp being a 500 damage nuke is a lot more. It's another 8 damage on top of that. So that's like, what, 40 damage? And now that it's 35, you're 8% spell amping 550 damage, which is 10% is 55. So it's probably like a little bit less than that, 20% less than that, 5.5, 11. It's like 44 damage or something, I think. So you're getting a lot of value from the 10 perk and the dual breath burn damage increase. I like Jakiro perks a lot. I feel like they're pretty much all good. There's definitely a situation where I'd grab every single one of these skills. I still haven't gotten plus 40 attack range, 400 attack range, because that's a shit skill, but maybe there's some circumstances where it's good, where you're playing like support Jakiro and you're trying to siege. It's probably good in those circumstances where you're worried about getting caught, but I almost always get the GPM perk. The only one I think I maybe haven't gotten with confidence is the respawn time, but not sure. Juggernaut Healing Ward bounty increased. The fact that it got bounty in the first place was very, very small, almost inconsequential, but I think this had to happen because the hero is becoming too strong. Not that it's a big nerf still, but it's kind of big in the laning stage, I guess. But most jugs won't get the Healing Ward denied ever. But 75 gold is becoming big. I mean, at some point it'll be like 300 bear gold, right? And then people will be really unsure if they want to cast Healing Ward. Juggernauts that are about to die will be less hesitant to cast healing, or more hesitant to cast healing word now. That's not true. They'll cast it anyways and feed it, but Keeper the Light was going to get nerfed because he's been picked a lot. They basically just nerfed the skill that Keeper Lights don't buy. They all go like Illuminate Chakra. But this is okay. It's just, I don't know. I guess if they nerfed Illuminate, people would just stop playing the hero. Kunkka level 15 down. Talent increased from 15 to 20. I think this needed to happen. The other one was better. I think it was the regen one. There's no reason to get 15 movement speed basically when you could have, it was like 12 regen, 15 health regen. Like, why would anybody ever get the movement speed? I know they just changed it. They swapped it with something else. I don't remember what it was, but maybe it was torrent damage. I don't remember. But 15 health regen, you pretty much grab that every time. But 20 movement speed, I'd start thinking about it as a core. Although if I'm a core, I have an armlet, in which case I really want that health regen, so my HP isn't as low. But 20 movement speed for a support, in some games you could probably justify that now, because 20 is pretty huge. If you got that and a windlace, you're just sailing along. And obviously you get movement speed advantage with Ghost Ship, so that's 22 movement speed, guys, when you boat yourself. Legion Commander talent changed. I know that this was commonly picked in the pro scene, at least at the start. Moon Meander felt that this was better when I talked to him in the cab back from Genting to the airport. But I've done this sometimes, gotten the cooldown reduction, and I lost games because of it, because I just didn't scale into like ridiculous levels like I would have with 40 damage bonus. -8 press the attack I think is definitely more interesting though. This one's just kind of boring. Like the only real benefit is that you get to ulti people more often, and yeah, it's kind of cool to have a lower press the attack cooldown, but they can just do that instead, which is what they're gonna do. So with Legion getting buffed in this way, -8 seconds puts it down to 5 seconds, which is a really big difference considering the duration is 5. So what this could show is that rather than trying to core Legion in late game, Legions may instead just be like, I'm sucking, I'm not scaling, I should just get the press the attack cooldown. Because then they can just buff whoever is hitting towers, or debuff. You could play support Legion if you hit 25. It would be really strong. The only negatives to this is that I guess you can't duel as often, but it kind of gives like two paths. It's like you're owning the game and want to own harder, or you want to buff your allies more. And this is a strong dispel, so you can remove stuns with this. Very good skill. 60 HP regen as well, so 300 HP. You could basically play like, I'm going to transition to care or support Legion late game. Heal somebody 300 HP in 5 seconds. Kind of cool. I like that talent change. I think it's a nice change. Won't affect the game very much. Could affect the game's super late game, depending on the circumstances. Also, Legion has an experience talent at 10, which a lot of pro players get, just because the hero's involved in a lot of farming and kills. So, pretty likely they'll get 25. 7 strength is very good though. Leshrac, level 25. Talent increase. Yeah, the other one was Diabolic Edict. It was way too good. But 3 seconds lightning slow storm duration increase is starting to become useful in a different way. It already had really good lockdown, but obviously when your Diabolic Edict does 40 explosions and then is buffed to 90, so it gives you more than double the explosions increase, which is just an insane damage increase. 36 times 40 basically. That's my headset turning off again. But 3 second lightning storm, so I think that's 4 seconds now. The fact that this could slow somebody for 4 seconds, it seems so OP. And in fact, even 3 seconds seems so OP, but 4 seconds, that's permanent slow actually. That means if you cast lightning storm on, if you have an Octarine core, it was permanent. If you have an Octarine core now, somebody's permanently slowed. Like actually permanently slowed. Let's see if QO ended up getting lightning storm. There's no way he did. There's actually no way. 400 mana, 15 strength. He probably got that boring HP perk too. Ugh. 125 health. Gross. It's still probably not worth doing this, because late game everyone has like BKBs and force staffs and stuff. Slows aren't as good, but 4 seconds uptime slow in long engaged fights against like melee heroes that you want to kite, this could be very, very good. So I would say if they're good at diving and they can kill you with physical damage, this might be better, because it would help you keep distance if you can live the first 10 seconds. Kind of cool. Big buffs to Lich actually. I would say buffs at level 10 talents, especially ones this significant, are huge buffs. 25 movement speed is huge for a buff. 175 health is also very, very good. That's a lot of health at 10. That's like taking a Lich from like 800 HP to 1000. 25 movement speed is kind of OP on the hero because of the fact that she's already really fast as well. 315 movement speed. Yeah, 315. So with boots, you're sitting at 360 So throwing an extra 25 on that is pretty huge, 385. Especially if you have Tranquils. Tranquils are 80, I believe. So that puts you at 395 plus basically 420 movement speed with level 10 movement speed perk. So it's depending on the game, this is fantastic. And movement speed's obviously very good on this hero because you slow people, so it's harder for them to catch up. But this is also very good. So pretty good buff. This one got buffed from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. And his other option is cast range versus that. This is now a good choice. It's difficult to make it. I don't remember what it was before. I think it was like cast range and something else that was boring. But minus 4 seconds on Frost is quite good because it's an 8-second cooldown. So it puts it from 8 to... Used to go 8 to 5, now it's 8 to 4. And the slow lasts for 4 seconds. So this is a permanent slow on Frost Blast. So this is pretty cool. I could definitely see that depending on the game over cast range. In fact, I think there's a lot of times I'd probably just grab that, to be honest. Especially now that it's buffed, this number is going to get higher. Cast range is very good for interrupting like black holes and stuff. And Frost, ice armoring people that are far away and sacrificing creep saves you all a little bit of time. You can Frost Blast from farther away and more safely, but 4-second cooldowns are really good. In some ways, I'd actually even consider going like Aether Lens on this hero now and going for the minus 4-second Frost Blast cooldown. Because now I know that I may not be as ranged, but if I have a 800 cast range on Frost Blast and I can do it every 4 seconds, I'm a goddamn sniper at that point. And if you put movement speed on top of that, yes, if they gap close you can still die fast, but you're way faster than them. You can slow them permanently basically every 4 seconds. That seems good. I'm going to have to try this. I like that a lot. And it's only 15, so you can reliably get it as well, which is cool. But I haven't played Lich since this got put in. Lifestealer base damage reduced by 3. This hero's heavily picked right now. 3 damage is really not that significant, but it will affect his last hitting. Base damage is pretty high, actually. That's like 59 on average, so it goes down to 56. Could matter. Probably won't. 3 damage is very small, but that's 3 damage the whole game, I'd like to point out, guys. Lina. I'm a little surprised this got buffed. I think this is pretty significant. It was already very fun to play, although she does die a little bit easier than heroes like Lion. In fact, he also got the same buff. Level 10 talent increase from 60 to 80 damage. That's pretty significant. I still think that one was probably worth getting. Maybe more so now. Puts your Light Strike array up to 280 instead of 260. 280 is like back to what she used to be when she was kind of strong as a core. I would say if you're core, I would definitely get the damage one. As your support, if you're support, the respawn time's fantastic, but so is this. It's a really hard decision. This is one of the hardest talent trees to make, IDO-wise, in my opinion. I'd say it's a lot harder than even this line one. The line one's definitely leaning towards the respawn time, even though the damage is good, but this one is so good. Like, everybody's going to hit a Light Strike array. It may not hit a lot of heroes, is maybe one negative, but and the respawn talent for a support that has nukes and disables, it's so good to respawn fast. Especially because you should set up a gank during that time period. 40 damage to 50 at level 15. That's fine. I think I played Lina the other day, actually, and I did go the damage talent. I think I went Light Strike array damage, I went damage talent, I got Spell Amp, and then I got the Fiery Soul one. So I was farming super crazy. I should maybe do a replay commentary if that was a pretty fun game. Changed from +1 Fiery Soul stacks to a plus 44% Fiery Soul per stack. Does that mean each stack is more now? Does that mean you can stack endlessly now? Oh, it does extra attack speed and movement speed per Fiery Soul. So rather than getting 4 Fiery Souls, it does more per. So it does basically puts you up to 125% attacks or 125 attack speed per soul or per Fiery Soul. I'm gonna do a little spreadsheet really quick, just because I want to get the numbers right to compare the two. All right, so do like right there. All right, you got a little spreadsheet. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and it was 80 attack speed and 8% movement, which equals this plus 8, and equals this plus. And then we do this, and do this. Okay, so before with the fourth stack, it would put you from 240 to 320 and 24 to 32, but now it makes them better in that you're basically doing, oops, 80 and 12, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, 80 and 12. No. It's oh, it's 85. I did my spreadsheet wrong. 85 and 8 is what it should be. 85. Oops. Shit. Undo. Undo. All right, 340. This is 85 and 12 equals this plus 85 equals this plus 12. That's per level. Nope, that's wrong. I'm a dumbass. 125. There we go. 125. All right, so basically 2 Fiery Soul stacks is equivalent to a level 3. And level 3 is better in attack speed and better in movement. The reason I think this is a really smart way to change it is because when you're playing like Force, Fiery Soul, Lena, I'm really glad I played this hero a week ago. But the reason that this is significant is because before, oops, let's go over one. There we go. The reason it's significant is because before you basically have to be at 4 stacks for it to work effectively, which kind of forces you to have a lot of mana regen because you just always have to cast a spell. But now, if you just happen to cast 2 spells, which is pretty normal, just like Light Strike or Ray Dragon Slave, you're already at like the movement speed and attack speed of the previous patch, which basically maxed out. So pretty much any hero would want to get this, in my opinion. -4 on Dragon Slave is really good though, so maybe not, but for pretty much any Lena, the fact that they could instantly go to like basically 3 stacks with only 2 spells, super value. And then if they cast a 3rd spell as well, 36% movement speed is insane. And this attack speed difference is nice. But if you're at core Lena, I think this one is definitely better. Support Lena might still be better to lower your Dragon Slave cooldown because it would go down to 4 seconds. I think 4.5. No, 4 seconds. It would go down to 4 seconds, but I really like this change. I think this is it's a huge buff to core Lena in terms of usability without making it stupidly OP. It's certainly better, but not by a huge amount. Just better more easily, if that makes sense. It doesn't force you down the same build. I'm glad we took a look at that. And then let's destroy it forever. Goodbye. Cool. A nice little change there. Discard changes. All right. Line damage bonus at 10. Tread's line still looking pretty good. Although with that said, most Rubiks don't actually get this skill, despite giving them 60. So some do, I would say. Curious what the difference is. Respawn time has a marginal advantage, and I would imagine that the damage is going to have a better advantage now because the difference of 5 respawn time versus 15 damage, I would say, pushes more towards the damage favor now. But I'm not surprised to see respawn gotten more. Line respawn reduction is really important. Lone Druid getting the nerf bat. Base damage reduced by 4. Rapid cooldown increased. Ooh, that's actually a huge nerf to the hero. I believe that means it's not permanent now. That you will not always be rabid-id. So it lasts for 30 seconds. It used to be just about permanent. Yeah, it was permanent before. Now it is not permanent. Lasts for 30 seconds out of 45. So it's basically more like what the skill means, which is like a temporary induced state of being angry versus just the always angry. So pretty big nerf to the hero, I would say. Small nerf to the talent tree too. This is overall a pretty big damage decrease, 9 damage late game. I'd say that's significant. Maybe not late game significant, but this is big and this is big. In terms of melee bear, this is still a really big nerf, I would say. This is maybe one of the biggest negatives about this nerf, is that it still hurts both melee Lone Druid and ranged Lone Druid, when normally they want to just buff the one that's not played, because nobody plays melee Lone Druid right now, I think. So this is significant, because that's a lot of attack speed and a lot of movement speed 40 attack speed, 25% movement speed. It's pretty huge, pretty big nerf. Although it's not so much like in fights he's that much weaker, he's about the same. But if you use like a diffusal blade on him, for example, now, it's really nerfed. And I know some people have been buying diffusal blades or a Yule's or tornadoing him with Invoker to remove Rabid because it can be purged off. So if you do that and he just casted it, he's actually way worse as a hero because he's losing 25 movement speed, 40 attack speed. That's massive. So diffusal blades, the lone druid counter, it's really strong now. Like in small buff, Medusa, this needed to change. This was like one of the worst talents in the game in my opinion. Just felt so shit. The reason is because her ultimate stuns somebody for 3 seconds if you stun them. But it's not always guaranteed, right? They'll be stunned for only 3 seconds. However, if you did get that perk, it went up to 4, but you wouldn't get it over 25% lifesteal. 25% lifesteal is insane. And you always have pretty good damage late game. So you would pretty much always grab the lifesteal perk without question. But 25% lifesteal is pretty good. 2 seconds is good though. That puts you from 3 to 5. That's a really long duration disable. In some ways, you could justify a refresher on this hero. I think with that perk, I genuinely think you could. The issue is it gives you only 20 damage, which is pretty bad, and gives you really good mana regen though, which is actually god tier because you have so many stats naturally. You could probably justify a refresher. It's very expensive though. If you cast it, it would remove you'd lose 1500 magic or damage block from your passive, from your mana shield. But if you cast 2 of those, and I wonder if you can reapply it. If somebody's stoned already, if you refresh and cast it again, would it reapply? If so, I could see some Medusas doing some funky builds sometimes. Because 5-second duration is insane. That's so much. Be cool. King added Capstone. We already read that. Jingu mastery buff now is a max duration of 35 seconds. That is a very good change. That was so stupid how it would just stay on you forever. You could save a charge and just hold it for forever. This is a nice nerf to the hero. He had too much vision at night apparently. Rescaled the ulti duration. Fairly irrelevant, but still nice. Okay. Nature's Prophet, Nature's Call, mana cost rescaled. That's a pretty big buff to the hero. Level 15 talent. 20 int is quite a lot. And 35 movement speed is also a lot. So buff to mid-game Nature's Prophet. That's pretty good. 35 movement speed is huge. 20 int is also huge for a hero that right-clicks a lot. So that is a lot and a lot of int. Damage, spell power, mana pool. Mana pool is kind of relevant, spell power is kind of relevant, but the damage is good. I mean, between your 10 perk and your 15 perk, you're looking at 50 damage. That's a lot. And you can get 35 attack speed. That's already such a huge... just your hero by itself is already going to be really strong. Nature's Prophet's getting pretty close to, sustained carry potential. This movement speed's really good, though. Nyx Assassin, Spike Carapace, cooldown rescaled. So it's worse at early levels, but really not by much. Very tiny baby nerf for Nyx. Ogre nerfed, Bloodlust mana increased. Kind of needed to happen, the hero's kind of too good. Used to be 75 mana. When it went down to 50, the hero started getting played again. Just because you could cast Bloodlust a lot and afford it. But putting it at 65 could cause a lot of cramps for some ogres. Maybe forced to buy soul rings, maybe forced to get arcanes more consistently. The movement speed nerf is going to hurt the roaming a little, but he's really tanky, so it's a little reflectant on how slow the hero should be, right? He looks like he's a slow hero. That's a pretty big nerf. Spirit Lance Illusions now give the same constant 5 bounties juxtaposed rather than scaling with levels. Okay. I don't know how much they were worth before, but they were kind of hard to kill because they were only up for so many seconds. But level 15 Phoenix talent from 90 GPM to 120. I think that needed to happen. That talent was okay, but it wasn't fantastic. Yeah, especially because the Fire Spirits DPS, Fire Spirits. I said Spirits. No, I don't remember how I said it. Fire Spirits. 50. I can't remember how I said it the original. If you're confused about whether or not I was saying that wrong on purpose, I was. 50 Fire Spirits DPS is really good. Because before it would do up to 70 damage a second. So that's massive increase. And you could do that for 4 seconds times 4. So you're looking at, before it would do 140, 280 damage times 4, which is still a lot of damage, just over 1,000, but now it's doing 120 times 4. That's 480 times 4. That's like 2,000 damage almost. That's insane. So because that one is just so good now, 120 GPM. The GPM had to be buffed. 120 is quite a bit. That's a little bit more than a Midas. I think that's pretty justified. You could go Midas into this talent quite easily on this hero. But if I was playing like a core Phoenix and doing really well, then I would go Fire Spirits. But you shouldn't play core Phoenix because his abilities are too long cooldown. Puck buff, base damage by 3. Edfin will be happy. This is a pretty nice buff. Level 15 puck. 20% magic resistance built in is quite a bit. Over 50 damage. I didn't even know that existed. 50 damage is kind of a lot too. 20% magic resistance is a huge amount. So those are pretty big, pretty nice updates. 420 GP. They just had to. They just had to. Those goddamn memers. I do know that the orb one is super good. Look at the win rate difference. This is incredible. 5.5%. That's actually like insane. How much better that is. Most of the issue is that like once you're level 25, you just don't need that much GPM. But the reason this is cool is because Puck is not like he's not a traditional carry, right? But with 420 GPM, I am pretty sure you can buy whatever the hell you want. Like you can literally change all your items. 420 GPM is actually insane. Because it literally just 10 minutes you've got a new item, just about. 12 minutes. 12 minutes you can pretty much buy any new item that you want. You could basically guarantee max out your Dagon to Dagon 5 with this perk. But with that said, orb speed and distance is so much from what I've heard. I haven't even seen it, to be honest, but 420 GPM, that's a lot. You can buy moon shards for your whole team, guys. That's what this is now. Moon shard puck. You literally just hit 25, start buying moon shards for everybody. That's like one way that that's like the only hero right now, honestly, that I can think of that it's worth it to buy moon shards for, is play puck and just buy moon shards for everybody. And yeah, Elk can give moon shards to people too, but he can also buy Ags, and it's almost always better to buy people an Aghanim Scepter than as a moon shard. And they're about the same cost. Moon shard's 4,000 gold, Ags is 4,200, and if they have an Ags upgrade, I guarantee that Ags is better for that hero than a moon shard. Unless maybe in some cases where it's not like beneficial, like Legion Eggs is sometimes a bad thing. But this is so much gold. Like there's heroes that have a 120 damage perk or 120 gold per minute perk, and that's like his buff here. He already had 300. That's so much. Moon shards for everybody. Pudge meat hook speed reduced. Okay, that's pretty significant. I haven't seen a change like that in a long time. No longer pulls in vulnerable heroes. I like that as well. If somebody is BKB'd and in trouble, you can't just pull them to safety. You also can't BKB somebody that's channeling a black hole or something to safety. And it also means that you can't. Does this mean that you can't hook through BKB now? I guess is what this means, which means you can't damage through BKB. Did it damage through BKB before? I can't remember. But I think this is big. Pugna, level 10 talent increased. That's a pretty big health increase. I don't know why, but anything under 200 just feels so bad. And it should actually, because 150 health, that's like 7 strength, the equivalent. Doesn't give him strength, obviously, but it's the equivalent of 7 strength. Like, ugh. No thanks. Not interested. But that's like 11 strength now. That's a pretty big difference, actually. From 7 to 11. The other option is mana regen. Both pretty good perks, but I think 225 justifies the health, because Pugna always has this huge issue with health in the mid game. He has a lot of trouble with it. So I think this is almost for sure a gimme perk, as good as the mana regen is. Pugna 15 challenge. Talent changed. So the negative is that he no longer has as much strength at 15. But I think I'm actually completely okay with that. It's respawn time and Nether Blast cooldown. Nether Blast is a 5 cooldown ability. For some reason I thought it was 3.5. 5 is still really low though. That puts it down to 4. So with an Octarine it would be 3.75. With this talent in an Octarine it would be 3 seconds, I believe. Pretty good. And also I think the nice part here is just that you can go strength, or you can go health strength. This is 240 HP. So basically between this perk and this perk, you could have 465 more HP. which is kind of nice and kind of needed in a lot of cases. Because on Pugna you would need health, you would need magic resistance a little, you kind of want armor big time. The respawn time perk I think is cool. Could be justified as the support Pugna thing. Might be worth trying. I think that'd be fun to try. Especially if you end up suiciding or something like that. I think this is a nice change. Oh wait, I'm sorry, this perk's gone now. I'm stupid. I forgot they removed it. So basically you have to get the health perk if you want survivability. But if you're building a fast ags, then you can probably not worry about this change. But I think this is fine. The fact that the health is at 10 and not 15. If it was at 15, I'd be sad because that your 10 to 15 would still suck. But the fact that you can get 225 health at 10 now is really good. In fact, if we look, it's actually mana regen that wins more often. I'm not too surprised just because for a lot of players they're mana inefficient, but I feel like pros would still get the mana regen too. But maybe not. Health is really good. Wow, this is a huge advantage. No, it's just got changed. This was strength before. So the stat is not accurate yet, I don't think. I assume that this isn't updated. And even if it isn't, it's too small a sample size. I would go cast range over netherward damage, I think. Because the damage is like, it's not even like a 30% increase. Don't know if I get the life drain heal. I guess you could. It counters Blade Mail then. Blade Mail before would just counteract you. It wouldn't heal from it. But this would actually help you heal and gain mana faster. It's probably the best reason for it. This is actually probably really worth it, I feel. But it's hard to say. Nether Blast is good too. Depends what you want. Queen of Pain. She needed a big buff. Her hero was pretty shit. Where we're towards the bottom. 9 strength, that's 180 HP versus the previous 120. It's a really, really good talent. I think I would probably get the strength now. I think I got the strength before, but I'd definitely get it now. 25 damage is great, but over this much HP, I think I'd take the HP. Another HP talent at 20. The problem with Co-op right now is like you initiate and they just kill you. And for her to be good, you basically have to do blink screams like 3 times is what it feels like. It just takes so much. Or you need your other allies who have AoE to set up damage. That way you can clean people up. Because the problem right now is like your ulti has this stupidly long cooldown. It's actually just so long. It's like 135 seconds or something. So it's like you can't solo kill like a hero like Lina can. You don't have a hard disable because you don't have a stun. You just have like a dagger slow. It's just like hard for you to do anything. You basically have to buy Orchid fast because it makes your hero better. And then you have to buy a Hex so that you actually have a disable. And then you get to like level 15 and you're like, oh, do I get grab GPM or cooldown reduction? I can make my shit cooldown skill actually faster. 135 is like so long. So it just like, I don't know, man. The hero is just so weird. However, change here could matter a lot. I don't know if I'd go 90 GPM, but 12 cooldown's really good too. It's quite a bit. The 25 is remove Shadow Strike cooldown. I don't know if that matters or not. You could basically repeatedly cast this for 125 magic if you're into that. 1 second cooldown is actually, this is actually kind of cool because basically the problem before is that 1 second cooldown is it's actually a long time because if you blink in and cast your spells, you blink in and cast Scream and people start running. So you'd cast Shadow Strike and then you have to wait 1 second to cast on them. But now that it's just no cooldown, you can pretty much just like blink in, Scream, Shadow Strike, Shadow Strike, Shadow Strike, like cast it on 2 or 3 people. And it actually does pretty good damage. Probably 60 times 5 or something like that. Yeah. So it's like 425 damage, and it applies a fairly strong slow. I could see this justified as getting the perk, maybe. I mean, 70% spell lifesteal is still really good, though. You kind of want both, really. You definitely want both spell lifesteal and Shadow Strike. I wonder if at some point they're going to move either spell lifesteal to 20 or something like that, and make it lower, like 50% or something. And maybe this is a way to make the hero better, get an Octarine or something. Not sure. Let's look at more guides. I feel like there's no high MMR players that actually play this hero. Look at the MMR. It's mostly low MMR players, which basically means the hero sucks. If it's not all high MMR players, and by high I mean like 7Ks plus. I mean 6.5 is not bad by any means, but if it's not like 7, 8K players picking this hero, then that means players think the hero is bad. He did get Octarine. Which perk did he get? Cooldown reduction, attack range, lifesteal passive. Got the damage perk too. Pretty sure everybody gets the damage perk. Oh, this guy actually got strength. But he's only a 5.5k average player. So that's pretty close to me. Alright, basically this talent is never grabbed, more or less, and this one always is, but the hero needed a buff. Don't think anybody's really grabbing that too much, but 300 health is quite good. I think it's going to justify more players to grab it. Attack range is good too with the hero, though. Razor, his hero kind of sucks. 20 movement speed's okay. I think the other one's like 10 agility or something like that. Oh, 15 agility, that's really good. 15 agility, holy crap. Did I not read on? Yeah, I didn't. Okay. I was going to say it was 10 agility. 15 is a lot. That's a lot of agility. That is 2 and 1/7 armor. So that's about 12% physical resistance. That is 15 damage. That's 15 attack speed. That's a really good talent. That's so good for level 10. I feel like you get this for sure. 20 movement speed's not bad though, especially because your passive is percentage based. So 16% on top of that is not terrible. 10 is 2, so it's like 3. It's like 3 movement speed. So getting this perk gives you 23 movement speed. But I feel like you can solve this by just going like agility and going like Manta or SNY. Not that those items are necessarily, or skills are amazing, maybe, but the Storm Scepter now hits Shrine instead of ignoring them. I don't think this will make a big enough difference, but this one is really nice. That's a nice change. The hero has a bad win rate, I believe. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I want to go to the other thing. Meta trends. Curious what his win rate at like 5k is. Pretty shit. 45.5. It's actually significantly better than other ones, probably because players know what they're doing, so they know how to abuse the hero better, but 45 is still really, really low. If we look for the worst heroes, he's definitely bottom 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ninth worst hero in the game, win rate wise, at 5k and above. That's a bad sign, guys. Anybody in these bottom 10 isn't a bad sign. Even Doom has a really low win rate. He's actually picked sometimes though, so you can make good choices. But yeah, all these heroes pretty much suck. This all kind of makes sense. Turns out Bristleback is the... Oh, this is the win rate. Is that what I wanted? Yeah, that's what I wanted. Where's Io? I guess Io's not the bottom. Oh, Io's actually a good hero at 5k. Okay, I must have been looking at different numbers the other day. Must have been like the overall win rate. This is actually like the 5k win rate. So basically any of these heroes here you probably shouldn't pick. Here's Majaro. Anything above like 46 is okay-ish, but anything like sub 45 is real bad. So we'll see if those change. 15 agility will go a long way. Small nerf to Rubik here. It's not insignificant. It'll make trading a little bit worse against certain heroes. This needed to happen. Nobody was ever going to grab that. I actually don't remember what the other one is, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody... Yeah, 150 attack range is a lot, because the hero's already a little bit low range. He's like 550 or something. Does that even show, actually? Don't know where it is. I don't think it shows on the page, actually. But yeah, 150 attack range is pretty nice. 125 Shadow Raise damage is better than the cooldown reduction. So the issue is late game, casting your Raise, it takes you away from attacking. And because you grab talents like the +2 damage per soul and 20 attack speed, there's no reason to raise unless there's like 2 heroes standing next to each other, because you usually do as much damage right clicking. So to actually buff the raise damage makes sense. And in fact, it's kind of cool because it would make you farm faster. So put your raise up to 450. So you could double raise and do 900 magic damage. That's really good. Instead of 650. It's a massive difference. Did I do my numbers wrong? Yeah, 900. It's a nice change. Really nice change. I could see that being grabbed now, certainly. If you're fighting a lot of heroes and maybe you want some more magic, if they're good physically, I like that. It's a good change. Even though Shadow Fiend's picked, I think this is fine. So this is the image that I saw on Haz's Twitter that confused me. I realized that I had been spoiled. Once I went to the page and I was like, that's weird. There's no buff to Shadow Shaman increases attack range by 100. What in the fuck just happened? This is the only hero not picked, by the way. Hey, what happened, guys? What happened? What is this? It's a 1% loss. Why did Shadow Shamans lose so much? It's actually just all over the place. Probably because nobody plays the hero right now. Is it crazy though? Okay. Base attack damage by 18. That's fucking bonkers. The hero's base armor is normally awful. It's now 1 better, which is significant. It's probably 2.24 now. He's still slow as hell. At 285. Attack range is increased by 100. What the? 18 damage? This is insane. It means the hero is doing like 68 damage level 1 now. That's actually incredible. I guess part of the reason this is okay is because to channel shackles you're not attacking, so it's kind of losing out on your damage potential. But this is incredible. If we don't see Shadow Shaman mids, I'm going to be a little surprised, I must say. Because the hero did go back to being a mid hero, or used to be a mid hero. I personally usually grab the movement speed even though it's only 15, so I'm happy that it's now 20. That's a nice buff to the hero. I'll grab that pretty much every time now, just because that puts you up to 305 and you're kind of like a chase hero. Like you're a ganking hero anyways, and a push hero, so I like movement speed. 175 health is alright, but it's like, what, 8 strength? 9 strength? Kind of irrelevant, because your armor was kind of bad anyways. But this is huge. This is pretty big, and this is really huge, I would say. But mostly the armor and the attack damage are huge. This is a nice change. Oh, they both got buffed. 175. I would still grab the movement speed, though, because the skill got 33% better. This one only got like 1/6 better, I would say. So I would definitely get the movement speed. It's a really big buff to Shadow Shaman here. 18 damage. Literally 18 damage. And now this hero is going to be able to zone offlaner so much better too. You could kind of do it before, but now it's going to be... This is like the new offlane zoner hero. Easily. You're still really slow at 285, but just the fact that you have 2 armor now, and you hit for plus 18 damage, and if you have level 1 Ether Shock, it does 140 magic damage. So you're going to see Shadow Shaman zoning offlaners now, solo. Shadow Shaman can like mess up Centaur's life at the moment. Especially if he gets level 2 and has Shackle. So good. Huge Shadow Shaman buffs. I felt like he was okay, but I guess his ulti is kind of really bad for team fights. It's like good at pushing, but that's about it. Alright, Slardar are going to get nerfed again, I'm sure. Yep. Ooh. How far we've fallen. The stun duration reduced at all levels, so 2-second stun at late game. The stun AoE increased and increased and increased, and then the hero got played too much and got nerfed and nerfed and nerfed. So 2 seconds stun duration. It used to be 2.5, so that's pretty big. Pretty big reductions. This is really big too. 1.25 is very little early. Corrosive Haze duration rescaled or reduced from 25 to 18. I'm sure it's significant. Maybe not too bad. In late game, maybe it won't matter that much because it doesn't last very long anyways. But 18 seconds, that's fine. Spectre, she's pretty bad, needs buffs. This is fine. This is nice, plus 8 all stats. This talent tree sucked too. Most of her talent trees just seem really bad and boring. You're like, I don't want any of these. Can I have something good? 5 armor, 20 damage. That one was fine. I think the 15 one really sucks. But it's better now. 20 movement speed is potentially useful. So with 20 movement speed and like any Yasha in a phase, you might be way faster than people now. 8 stats is very tempting though. That's 160 HP, 8 agility. The mana is pretty much worthless. Maybe not worthless, but bad, I would say. I like the movement speed. I might go movement speed if I do this. Because that way at least you might be able to outrun people. And it's also buffed up by Spectral Dagger, which is 20%. So this is actually 24 movement speed when you dagger. And when you use phase, that's another like 24% buff. And if you get a Yasha, that's another 10. So basically if you get the 20 movement speed perk, and you stack it with Manta, that's 2 movement speed. With your dagger, that's another 4, so that's 6 movement speed. And when you use phase, that's another 24%. That's another 5. So what did I say? 6. So it's 11. It's basically 31 more movement speed at 15. If you have a Yasha, a Manta, and a phase, and you use a dagger. And 30 movement speed is insane. I think that's really justified. In fact, it was kind of crazy maybe that people weren't grabbing it before when you look at those numbers. Yeah, phase is 5. Yasha's 2. Dagger is 4. 4, yeah, 11. So 31 movement speed with all those skills. It's really good. I think that perk is probably worth it now. It probably was before, to be honest, but the only downside is you have less HP and stats, but I think movement speed is more important for this hero because you don't have a hard lockdown. Movement speed is huge. And I don't know if it affects the speed of your haunt illusions. It says that they move at 400 base movement speed. Does that mean that they... I don't know if they run faster based on your percentage movement speed items or your perks. I'm not sure. I should probably look into that. 20 strength I think is nice. That's 400 HP versus the previous 300. Gives you a little bit of regen as well. It's that or attack speed, 30 attack speed. It's kind of a lot because it makes your illusions attack faster, but maybe you want the HP. God, you can actually build so much HP on this hero. That's the only changes. But I think these are nice changes. Those talent trees actually look like something I'd want to get, maybe. It's probably not worth getting S and Y in this hero, as much as I'd like to, because Manta is so good. Remove Corrosive Haze, debuffs your illusions to desolate damage. But maybe a cool idea. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe your illusion... No, illusions can't proc S and Y. Alright, Techies has been nerfed, actually, at level 1, which is almost inconsequential. In fact, it's only worse at level 1. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at it backwards. Your level 1 is much worse. Your level 2 is a little worse, and your level 3 is pretty much not worse. So this is fine. Just makes laning Techies less obnoxious. I haven't even played against it yet. I almost never play against Techies. Played against it like once, twice, maybe. This is a cool change. I like this. Again, kind of just making like outliers that somebody can do with a hero. Where are you at, Tiny? 60 damage versus movement speed. I think in a lot of cases, I would prefer the movement speed for sure. The problem with Tiny is that when you initiate, you can't really get out very easily. Because you need like a force to get out. Whereas if you initiate with a blink or a shadow blade or something, you have to escape after you do your combo because you're not able to fight it out. 60 damage is definitely a lot, but the problem is the hero needs attack speed more than it needs damage. Because by the time you get like level 2 grow, for example, which is where you'd be level 15, that's already 100 damage increase. I guess 60 is still a big amount, but I think both of these perks are very usable basically. So grow gives 60 movement speed total. At level 2 it's 50, but adding another 35 would make you 85, which means you'd be running really fast. Like around low 400s. It's pretty good. Could be worth it. I feel like the 60 damage would also really help carry Tinies be better at single target damage, which right now they're just shit at. It's just not good because like getting Ags doesn't make you kill heroes faster. It makes you kill buildings faster and lets you kill creeps faster. That's about it. But against heroes it's kind of shit. So getting the plus 60 perk could really help the hero do better against single targets, I feel. I always want to get the avalanche damage as well, because it doubles when you toss. But cooldown reduction is so god tier on this hero, because you can toss in avalanche more often, and you get BKBs and blinks anyways. It's just so good. It's hard to pass that one up. I would like to see a buff to that skill maybe, but they'll probably wait until after this. Nerf the Treant. Nerf the Treant. Big buff from 3 to 4. This one is kind of significant. It's actually pretty huge. I just played Treant last week with Slacks and Annie and stuff. But 35 seconds is really long. But it does help you farm insanely fast, so it kind of makes the game get weird. And it's still worth getting, I think. And even games where they buy gems, it still doesn't feel bad. So I think this is an okay nerf. I don't think it really hurts the hero very much. Tusk. Oh god, they buffed it again. 40%. I've tried this skill out. I maybe need a more consistent game, but the games that I get the experience gain, I do level insanely fast. 40% is incredible, but 35 damage is also really good. Because that's, what, doubled? No, it's 3.5. You get 3.5 times that damage when you actually use Walrus Punch, so you get 35 extra from your auto attack. Then an extra 3 damage of that is 105 plus another 50% of that, which is another 17 damage or something like that. It's like 16.5 damage. So basically you're doing like over 100 extra damage with your punch, which is pretty significant, physically at least. I guess if they have a lot of armor, it's not that big of a deal, but 40% movement speed or experience is also a shitload, I must say. The problem is that like when you get experience, you die more often. You don't die more often, but when you die, you feed people more levels, so it's kind of negative. Like this is why the win rate's so much higher in the damage. Like experience gain is it's kind of underwhelming in a lot of ways, I feel. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the health be the better perk. 700 is so much. I've gotten that one before too. This perk still sucks and is really boring. I like 15 now. The 150 snowball damage is actually really good because it does 200 only. So that puts it up to 350 nuke, which is kind of nice. Let's get more with heroes. Yeah, 50 per ally at level 4. But that's not bad. If you bring everybody with you, it does 600. No. Only does 400. I don't know. Excuse me. Tusk might still suck is part of the issue, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen him played I didn't see him played in the qualifiers. Undying, 30 movement speed's pretty good. Was that 20 to 30? No, 25 to 30. Very small. Hero was played a little, I believe. That's for Tombstone Zombie. I'm not surprised to see that only zombies. Yeah, this is not surprising me in the slightest. 90% pick rate for zombie damage. But 30 movement speed is getting to a place where it's pretty worth it, I think. The zombie damage is good, but it's maybe not needed because zombies doesn't say how much they do, I think. But zombie damage is definitely good, but 30 movement speed is god tier, I think. Maybe not god tier, but this hero's already really fast. Throwing an extra 30 on is pretty big. Yeah, not surprised about some of these things. Health over experience gain. 300 health is so much. These are actually remarkably close. I like the fact that those are close. Venomancer. This is buffed, surprisingly. And so is the other talent. 30 movement speed. That hero's really slow. I wouldn't be surprised if almost everybody grabs the experience talent. Oh, it's actually about 50-50. And the movement speed actually has a pretty big win rate increase. So I think part of the reason for this is that obviously you can level really fast, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, do you really need to get more talents? Is that important? Getting to your 3rd level ulti is a big deal, I think. But getting to like level 25 is just not super realistic. 3 times Plague Ward HP damage is just too good to pass up, I think. I think these do only like 25%, 40% damage of a regular auto attack, so making it 3 times better is pretty strong. 60% respawn, or 60-second respawn is incredible though. I think a pro scene 60 is too good to pass up, because your ultimate cooldown is 60 when you have an X, so... yeah, there's a lot of really good perks in here, I think. I think they're all pretty good. I actually like all of these. But I think I'd probably still pass up on experience gain. Your hero's slow, but puts you up to 310, 315, which is pretty fast. Especially if you have a tranquil boots or something. That'd be really fast. You'd be running around at like 415 or something, 405, with just tranquils. Hard to say. Viper, don't care. Small buff. This needed to happen. The level 1 familiars were too weak, I heard. Haven't played it since they got nerfed though. Weaver nerfed, been picked quite a bit. This is fairly inconsequential. This is fairly significant. 3 damage base when you have a double hit is a big deal. Like this one. 35% magic resistance is ridiculously huge. Where are we at, Weaver? Sakuchi movement speed, yeah. I think everybody's got Sakuchi movement speed. 25% is good, but it's not that much. Whereas if you get 35% magic resistance and you're getting bursted, that could genuinely turn fights so much. So if you have 2,000 HP, this is basically... Let's say you're 2,000 HP and you only take damage from magic. This is a difference of 700 HP. That's ridiculous. And any heals that you get heal you technically for more if you continue taking magic. So I think if you're against like a Tinker or something, there is no way that you don't get magic resistance. But maybe there's some other heroes that's good against. I don't know. Storm Spirit or something like that. It could be really justified against some of these guys. Zeus, for example, you definitely get the magic resistance. Not even a question. The movement speed's so good, but against a lot of these guys, Huskar, stuff like that. Ember Spirit, 35% magic resistance. How's that guy kill you now? Unless he goes damage. Even like Centaur or something. lot of those numbers. This is so good. 500 HP versus 700. That's getting into like value territory. Wind Ranger, Wind Run cooldown, buffed again. She actually got the biggest buff of the last patch, but she was still seen to be a little bit weak. She didn't quite make it through, but I think she's close to viable now. This was a little... I think I've seen almost nobody grab this talent, but I think it's close to good, depending. This is kind of interesting. I believe the other one is range increase. The problem with Wind Rangers is like when you're level 25, I'm sure nobody grabs this. Yeah, very few. The issue is like if you hit 25 on Wind Ranger, you're probably farmed, and you're probably going to want the attack range increase because you want to kill people with it. But the issue is if you're not farmed, you're probably not level 25, and you probably wouldn't want the power shot cooldown reduction. That would put it at 2 seconds instead of the previous, which was 3 seconds. So if you have an Octarine on that, that would do every 1.5 seconds you shoot a power shot. So basically, you're channeling for 1 second and... No. Channeling for 1. Does it shoot? Does it go on cooldown as you channel it? I actually don't even know. It should go on... If it goes on cooldown while you channel it, then that means every half second you can start casting a power shot. Whereas if it goes on cooldown after you cast it, you basically shoot it and then you wait 1.5 seconds. Which... It actually matters a lot in this case. I've never thought about it though. Does Black Hole go on cooldown as you cast it? I assume it does. Or does it go on cooldown once it's interrupted? I don't know. I don't know if it's justified though. Maybe it is. That's such a low cooldown. You could basically do 2 power shots within 1 shackle. That's kind of cool. Throw shackle, channel power shot, shoot, attack like twice, channel another power shot. That could be really good. I feel like you could certainly see like some kind of magic nuke build if you didn't want to go auto attack, especially because you have a 15% spell amp. I feel like you could do a Wind Ranger where you go like maybe you don't need spell amp, but you could go like Dagon. I feel like blink Dagon. Don't go right click, go blink Dagon. Which basically means you need the mana regen perk. There's no way you can avoid it. I want to get the Wind Run slow, but the mana regen is just so good. Maybe you go Wind Run slow with the int perk. Movement speed's so good too, though. All of our perks are so good. I actually like all of them. The only one I don't like is 100 attack range. I feel like that one's really boring, even though I know it's really good. Huh. Okay. Winter Wyvern, level 10 talent buffed a little. It's an extra 20 HP. Scepter cooldown and duration reduced again. So this is the Nimbus thing. Nimbus seems kind of good. I'm warming up to it. Level 10 talent increased from 175 health to 200. It's a pretty nice... Wait, don't take her. I'm going to show her on stream in a second. I'm done. And then level 25 talent, static field up by 2%. It's pretty good. Considering it did 10% level 4, I think the 1.5 increase was kind of mediocre. Like 200 cast range is god tier. But this actually gives more viability. 2% is enough where I feel over the edge now. Maybe it's because it's a round number instead of like a decimal of a number. But this looks like better to me by far. So if somebody, let's say somebody has 1,000 HP, this means that you're doing an extra 20 every cast. Well, not every cast, but if they're max, you do 20 damage more, which is kind of big. Before you did 15. So that's pretty adorable. Hey, you want to be on stream, little doggy? Come here. No? Did I scare you?
Go like this.
Tango. Tango. Come here. Can I give you a treat if you jump up on me? Here, do a bad thing. You want a treat? Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. It's okay. Do you want a treat? Here. You scared?
Here.
What if I put it? If I put it on my thigh, it's... I don't think she's showing. Oh, I'm seeing like her little dome just a little bit. That's right. That's right. I think she doesn't like the green screen. It scares her or something. I mean, this black transparent background. Can I force you to be on stream? Is that possible? Come here. It's okay. Come here. That's right. You know I'm about to abuse you, don't you? Come on. It's okay. No, come back. Oh, it got so much hair off of her. Oh, God. That was so much. Come here. It's okay. Nope, she really doesn't. All right, I'm going to give up. I did collect all of this nice hair, though. You guys want to see it? You can't really see it. It's like 20 hairs. Just let me love you on camera. Is that so hard? Okay, I got it. Oh. It's my little doggy. It's okay. She's okay. I think the green screen scares her. She doesn't like the lights or something like that. But now she can look at my keyboard and all my pizza leftovers. And let's give you a little treat. There you go. You don't even want a treat? Okay, it's time to get down. Good girl.
You just don't know how to hold her.
Yeah, you might be right. I did a bad job. Okay, I think that is going to show someone a reduced range. What? Oh. Thank you. You're right, it is a reduced range. 400. 400 is pretty small. That makes sense for the 18 damage increase. Okay. Oh, now you want to come back up here? Is that what happens? Or you just want more treats? Okay. Yeah. Reduced range by 100. How long you guys been typing that? 2 hours? Hook still works through BKB? Didn't it say that the pull doesn't? Hook no longer pulls invulnerable. Oh, invulnerable. That means like Yules. Okay, thank you. So you can't, if you Yules, he can't hook that. And if, like Song of the Siren and stuff, well, maybe that doesn't work. That might be different than invulnerable. Yeah, you can't hook Yules. Yeah. Who are the winners of the patch? I'm not sure. Oh, I wouldn't punch my dog, don't worry. Oh, I messed up my screen because I was sitting back into it. Can't hook Juggernaut ult anymore. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Invoker Tornado, Siren ult, Bane Nightmare. Bane Nightmare? No, you can still hook. You probably can't hook Bane the first second, because you're nightmared. When you get nightmared, you're invulnerable like the first second. But the seconds afterwards, are you still invulnerable? You are. I don't know exactly how that works, because if you attack somebody that's nightmared, is he invulnerable, or does his debuff just go to you, and therefore he becomes no longer invulnerable? I think he's vulnerable. It's just if you try to attack him, it'll hit you. So I think it's just the first second, unless I'm mistaken. Just the first second, that's what I thought. Does the hook speed mean the speed it launches at, or the speed it retracts at? It should be the speed it launches. The speed it retracts at, I don't think. Maybe it's the same. It might take longer for somebody to go from one place to another, as well as for your hook to fly out. But both are technically a nerf. Maybe it's a buff to Pudge because it's easier to dismember in time, but it's also there would be more time for them to react to it. So I'm not sure. You aren't invulnerable after that? Yeah, I figured it was something like that. Does hook hit through Slark ult? Yes, you're non-vulnerable when you're ulted as Slark. You are just untargetable, basically, unless you like get chronosphered, or you get hit with what's the other one? AoE stun. Like, you can still do ground targeted disables. My dog is shedding so much right now, actually. I gave her a little pull on the belly. I just like put my hand on her belly, and she pulled away. I got a little clump of hair. She's shedding like crazy. You can like sit down and brush her, and you get like actually a ball of hair like this big within like 5 minutes. It's huge. You can get so much hair out of her. Make a sweater factory and get more dogs. Why couldn't you hook sleep targets? You could. You just probably couldn't hook them. You could probably just hook them the first second. So basically now you can make them invulnerable, true invulnerable, I guess. Is Tango a rescue? Yeah. And I mean, we adopted her from an animal shelter, so yes, kind of. But it's not like we took her from a really shitty. I don't know what her situation was, but she got adopted by somebody early December, and then they brought her back within like 2 weeks because she bit another dog, but it was probably because they're all eating out of the same food bowl. And she's fine, honestly. We take her to the dog park like a couple times a week. She's really nice. Is untargetable a separate thing? It's not really like an official status. It's just like you can't click on somebody. It probably is a thing. It's like if you're invisible and you can't you can't target anybody. You can't cast a targeted spell on them. You can only do ground target. They should increase the hook AoE tip because of the hook slot. I don't think you understand, but they're trying to nerf Pudge here, man. They're not trying to make Pudge better. I don't know if you can buy Tango sweater. If we've been collecting the hair for the last week, it's like all super fine undercoat. It's really nice hair. But we threw it all in the garbage so far. Techie's nerf is very small. If you guys want more questions about small things and you missed it, basically, we are here to recover the errors of my reading understanding. Why would Earth Spirit be buffed? He's been nerfed. Guys, you can't ask me questions like that. This patch happened, and there were nerfs to heroes because they were picked too often. Aphotic Shield AoE doesn't hit invisible heroes? That's kind of stupid. Thanks for subbing, Corey. Appreciate it. Why are you going to buy both of them? Mean say take her for more walks. You think those changes slid on game pacing? You get slightly less gold from team fights. There's like no goddamn way that you can understand how game pacing stuff will adjust. I feel like that stuff's very difficult to understand truly because it's so based on how players play. So like people will say things like, "Oh, farming is not game winning right now," for example. And part of the issue maybe was farming was not game winning enough. So it's like any hero that doesn't farm a lot just didn't matter. Stuff like that. Sometimes the game gets into weird positions like that because then heroes are feel more comfortable just sitting around because it's more important not to lose a team fight than it is to be greedy and try to split farm, which in some ways creates less opportunities. Because if everybody's like, "Oh, we know that if we get ganked, we lose Roche and we're going to lose the game," but if it's worth it to collect resources, more worth it, then it might be more worth it to farm their jungle versus sit on your side of the map kind of a thing. Maybe I'm just making shit up here, but... Shadow Shaman viable and competitive. It's probably pretty good, yeah. Yeah, I already figured out the Shadow Shaman thing. Thank you, Core Dog, for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. Nope, I don't have green highlights. It's just light reflecting off the green screen and hitting my hair. I don't know if there's any like super big winners, to be honest. I think Shadow Shaman's got a really nice update, even though he got an attack range reduction. I think this is still very good. This should be about Bane's range. Maybe Bane is like 325. No, he's about 400. Should be about the same range as Bane. I think Bane got a decent buff. Shadow Shaman got a good buff. Most of these heroes are... Quap's change is okay. Pugna's looking better. Still kind of a bad hero, I'd say, though. Phoenix's was... Puck's was okay. Decent increase. Maybe Lena got a buff. She got a decent buff. I think Lich's is pretty good. I think Lich looks like a big winner to me. This looks really good. But maybe not. I could be wrong. Jakiro looks more beautiful. They forgot to use the new image, though, which I think is funny. He got a decent buff. This is pretty huge. Gyro on the verge of being OP, perhaps. This is a really nice buff to enchant. She got decently buffed, I would say. Ember got nerfed, I would say. Just consistently, just nerfed. DP's a little better. I think she's probably still bad, most likely. Bane got buffed a little, just a little bit, little baby buff. Yeah, it's not that big of a. Honestly, it's not a really heavy patch by any means. So like we're like 1 month away from a major. Like you don't shake up the game. You adjust things. Most of these item changes are very small. They're not significant. I don't think the drum one is okay, but it's still only 125 gold. It's not that much. Like some minor changes. This is maybe the biggest item nerf in the whole thing. Maybe the headdress thing. And if we think about what changed, all the ultimate orb items are more expensive now. Like Hurricane Pike is slightly worse. Dragonlance is worse. Like most of these are small changes. The helm one was big. The headdress one was big. So that makes mech more expensive and pipe more expensive and all this shit a little bit more expensive. But everything's pretty mild, I think. There's a lot of mild stuff. A lot of really cool talent tree changes. Most of them just random. Like nobody's like sitting down and be like, yeah, you know what? We should buff Ancient Apparition level 25. That'll really change the game because it's so rare. But this is a good time to like make... Like this is a really good time to throw in something that's probably not going to matter to anything but like 5% of games tops. But people that like Ancient Apparition will be like, oh shit, I want to go play Ancient Apparition again and try to hit level 25. Like it's going to happen now. So I think this is more of like a fan service, but a lot of these are fan service buffs. Like just small fan service, make that talent slightly better things that probably won't be touched on ever. But like anything that's like a level 25 perk is like basically just for fun. It's not for fun, you know what I mean? But it's so rare. And then pro scene, most of those aren't ever gonna happen. This one will happen. Ember's at 25, but like, you know, Husker's probably not gonna get picked. Leshrac, this one is like kind of irrelevant. I don't know. A lot of those are just won't happen. So it's not really that many changes. The patch thing looks long and we can talk about it forever, but nice changes, I think as a whole. I'm pretty pleased. I think this is a nice patch for... I think this was longer than I thought it would be for the patch right before the event. But is my Dota still open? Oh, I'm out of date. Well, time to close it. Alright. So that's pretty much it for today. I'm going to get going. Gonna go relax. Been working and taking care of the dog all day. I'm gonna try to stream probably tomorrow, maybe. I'm making a shadow over here, as you can see. I think I messed up where my light was tilted is what happened. It almost fell over and I never readjusted it, so that's why it's weird. But I think I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow. I have a couple other things that I really need to do first, but I'll try to stream tomorrow and play pubs. Try some of these things. You know what I should do is I should go through and make a list of things that I want to do. Because what I always do is I read the patch and I'm like, oh, here's all these ideas of things that I want to do, and then I just always forget about them. So I'm going to just really quickly go through this. Okay, there's my Dota. We'll go back here though. There's my notepad. All of these things are fairly boring. Try Masco Manus more. Atos doesn't really inspire me in any way. Maybe AA more. Definitely say Arcorden, maybe support. Don't know if it's viable or not, but I can mess around and play more Bane, definitely. But that's like 4 damage. I'll add it. I'm just going to write down literally every hero. That's what's going to happen. Bristles, pretty minor differences. Maybe it'd be fun to try a Brood. Brood, Core, DPS, carry build. It's probably what I'd want to try. That way I can try out the 70 attack speed or something. Don't care. CM maybe. CM. What was that one build I saw? It was like Tranquil, Wand, Urn, Drum, Glimmer build. I saw Ninja Boogie do that. I thought it was kind of cool. Made him pretty tanky. Might be worth trying DP out. I'll put her down. How do I search for words on a website? Control F. Welcome to the internet. Ooh, you're right. I could try to play puck level 20. I'm so bad at puck though. I am actually so bad at puck. Still haven't done Elder Chen core successfully, at least. I know some people were going like Shadowblade Deso, which seemed like very effective. All the builds I went were kind of like just really iffy. Didn't work out so well. Might be worth trying Enchantress more, although getting to like 25 is tough. More Enchant. Chen. I played Chen the other day. It was actually really fun. Played with Shane in the morning after casting. We just wrecked. Chikiro's pretty good. Maybe. I'm like skipping all course. Oh yeah, more Kunkka support. That's what I want to do. I played roaming Kunkka support the other day. It was so much fun. Oh, definitely Lich. Alright. Lena core. I like Lena core a lot actually. Feels fun. Don't know if I'd particularly look at the Lion one and say that calls out to me, but Trinkles is so good on this hero. Treads is pretty good too, but Trinkles is so good because you're initiating. Yeah, Medusa Refresher. Definitely Medusa Refresher, guys. Prophets still don't really care too much. Phoenix, PL, Puck. We could do some Pugna. Maybe try to make Razor suck, not suck. Quap. I'm not a very good Quap. Definitely Shadow Shaman. That's a hero I want to play. Spectre, MS build, probably. Spectre. I think that one's gonna be good. I still want to do tiny builds. Been theory crafting it, I never have done it yet though. And I always get into a game where I'm behind and I'm like, well, guess I can't fuck around and do that build now. It just never feels viable as part of the issue. Tusk, Undying, Veno. I could play more Veno, but maybe some Visage would be fun. Visage, Magic, Nuke, Wind Ranger. Although the problem with going all in on Magic Nukes is your hero just gets so shit once they get like BKBs and force stats and stuff. I guess that's about it. Pretty much everything else is pretty standard. It's probably stuff that I want to try out from this patch update. But you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get into a game and I'm just going to random is what's going to happen repeatedly. Because that's what I always do. And then I never actually get to do builds like that. Hey, let's go throw our money away. Who's in? You guys want to join me? Oh, there's a spirit. I should turn my audio on. Oh, yes. The exalted quality. I never bought the Monkey King one. Look, I can slightly adjust. There's a little turtle. Spirit of the animal, the turtle animal. I actually don't know if I want this. Now thinking about it now, I was not that interested in the visuals. I think they look cool, but it's not like. Let's demo the Arcana with my items. Physical Ember, no thanks. Where's my items? These are my items. Why can't I put my items on this? How am I supposed to know how cool this looks? Maybe the only thing that's making me want to do this is like maybe it looks really cool with my items, guys. Just maybe.
I had such plans.
It's actually no different. It does have that cool skill though. 20 damage, 20 attack speed. Movement speed? Stats? Let's try the movement speed. I don't think anybody's ever gotten this, I'm pretty sure, in a pro game. It's kind of a lot. But it's also bad. Over 20 edgy. Alright, well, I don't know. I just don't know if I want to pay money for this. With that said, though, it's also going to be expensive because Arcana's Arca's Jug is popular, and he's pretty much always going to be popular. I don't think there's ever going to be a day when Jug is not popular. I don't know. Go to hero selection and pick the Arcana there. go to hero selection and pick the Arcana there. And then I don't know how to do this. Oh. Huh? 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 I mean, it's like he looks the same. It's just he's a little glowy on his skin. And it looks like he's got bare green feet. I just don't know, guys. Try blind face. Am I dropping in frames? I was before.
Ready.
Is this Omni cool enough? I mean, it's kind of straightforward. I don't know. I don't know if I need to spend $35, guys. Especially because it should have been fucking IO that one. I don't know if I'll deserve some money on this one. But I could get the exalted version. I think I have like, how do I search for Arcana? Of course I can't search by that. Rarity. Oh yes. I have what, 4 Arcanas? Oh, I only need one more PA game. Anyways, I don't know. I do like Jug a lot. I just don't know if I like the Arcana. It's a bad sign. Alright, anyways, I'm gonna make this decision off stream so I don't get flamed either way, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Please watch my ads. Thank you.